South Bombay is a story of urban renewal. We believe that there is a shortage of housing stock in this segment of Mumbai. We also believe that these markets have a lot of depth.
You spoke about western suburbs. You have a project in eastern suburbs in Thane, right?
We have one in Thane.
So what is your opinion on that market?
Thane is a market that, will build discipline for selling, construction. People can really learn from in Mumbai.
The law continuously changes, and also talking about our real estate industry specifically for Mumbai, how do you keep yourself updated with the regulations that come?
The easiest sort of repository of information is WhatsApp in today's world. The other way is honestly just going to the BMC, going to the SRA, going to MHADA. I don't go to MHADA because we don't have much work there, but that's another area authority that a lot of people work with.
Firstly, I want to understand your thinking behind Speedy construction.
Price difference between a ready possession building and an early stage building is 20, 30, 40%. So that discount starts actually evaporating as the building goes up, and the quicker you put it up, the quicker that discount goes away. So that's one. And the second thing is customer is satisfied because at the end of the day he wants to have his house as soon as possible.
So moving to the Empire State Building, which happened
1930.
So I would like you to tell that story.
One thing you're not getting back is time, right? So you have to maximize as much of it as possible.
Do you believe in work-life balance?
Oh yeah, of course.
How do you manage to do that? So welcome to Speaking Real Estate podcast. Today with us we have a very special guest, Mr. Jayvardhan Goenka, who is a managing director of Dynamix Group. Want to introduce him, want to say something about him, that I look up to you as a very caring, loving and young guy in the real estate, making a very big difference at this age, and really look forward to you and looking forward to this session to take some great learnings back with me.
Oh, no, thank you very much for having me. You're too generous with your words, I think, and I'm very, very happy to be here, and will of course do the best I can for to be an engaging guest for you. I don't know what I'll be able to give in terms of value, but I'll definitely try to be a good guest.
I would like to start with your education.
Yeah, so look, I was born here in Mumbai. I did my first sort of 12 years in school in a school in Juhu called Jamnabai Nursery School. At age 12, I went to boarding school to a school in Switzerland, a school called Eglon College. So I was there for 6 years. Graduated from there in 2008, sorry, not 18, much older than then memory allows me to think. So graduated in 2008. So from 2002, I was in boarding school, graduated in 2008, and then went to university in the UK. I did a year at a college called University College London, where I studied economics. I didn't like it, didn't like the course that I was doing, so I reapplied to the London School of Economics, where I got in and studied philosophy and economics, and graduated in 2013, post which came back and joined work.
So I wasn't aware that the earlier phase also you spent 6 years in Switzerland for your education. So in this whole phase of education, where did you find that interest in real estate? And also, I'm aware of the fact that you took a gap year in your studies during your pursuing graduation in London.
Yes, that's
so. Why that decision of a gap year? Firstly, that apart from that, even after taking a gap year, you were here participating in the business to an extent. So why not continue when you were here, and why did you want to finish that studies, graduation? Like, I have a certain different opinions. I would continue if like.
Sure. No, so like, yeah, to just answer the few questions that you posed, what got me interested in real estate? I mean, honestly, it wasn't some kind of deliberate endeavor for me. My favorite subject in school was chemistry. That was the subject that I thoroughly enjoyed. Post which I sort of got more interested in economics, which is why I chose to study that at university. Economics at school and economics at university were two very different things. Economics in university was a lot more quantitative, a lot more mathematical, and less qualitative, which was something that didn't appeal to me. Although I was still decently good at it, and then which is why I changed my degree to have some kind of qualitative aspect, and philosophy was something that, when I got into the London School of Economics and started studying it along with economics, was something that was very fascinating for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading that and studying it. So I started out with a deep love for chemistry, which transformed to a love of economics. I was good at both those subjects, and then, of course, my degree took me to philosophy, which was my favorite subject, still remains my favorite subject, but I'm not very good at it. So yeah, there was never really any kind of concerted effort with my education to become a real estate developer. It was just something that I was exposed to for my entire life, right from, day zero. My grandfather was a real estate developer. My dad is a real estate developer. I was just exposed to it. I've been, in and around this office since the day I was born. It was just something that I guess to some level was a foregone conclusion for me, that I'll study, I'll try to do an internship, I'll try to learn something from great companies in and outside of India as well, and with the view that I come back and I apply those learnings to my family business, because it's something that is there. I've seen my father and my grandfather work very hard to make it what it is, and it was almost a sort of something that I enjoyed, because of course this is very exciting to see buildings go up, and of course there was a sense of duty as well. So these were the sort of few factors that made me a real estate developer. There wasn't a sort of straight trajectory from school to college to the BMC, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's that's sort of the way things panned out. You also asked about the gap year that I took. So that was in 2011. I was in the middle of my second year at the London School of Economics, and we had some turmoil back home with the business. My dad, his business partner, we ran into some trouble, and it was a pretty difficult time, and there were significant problems that needed to be addressed, and I had no knowledge of the business. I had no knowledge fundamentally of the problem. I had no knowledge of much, to be honest, at age sort of 20. But I said, look, let me just come back and take a year out. My college was gracious enough to allow me to do that, given the circumstances. So I took a year out, came back, and just tried to support things the way that I could, and learn something along the way, and if possible, make some kind of even a little bit of a difference that could help, in this sort of time of turmoil that we were going through. So that's what I did, and did what I could for that 1 year, learned what I could, went back, finished my second year exams, literally got back straight into exams. I finished my third year and graduated. You also, touched upon the question as to why I returned back for my studies. These were questions I was debating as well. When you're in business, you've learned, you sort of know you are learning, you've sort of dove headfirst into it and sort of getting a sort of broad hang of things. You've leapfrogged that issue of graduation, right? So why come back and why go back and go through that? So to me, it was a very straight answer, to be honest. I loved what I was studying. I wanted to finish studying, and it was like the business was there, right? And with communication as effective as it had become at that time in 2011 and 12, I could easily be in touch with the business, learn things, and whilst also pursuing my education. So I could very, very greedily have both, and I chose to do that. And plus, with my dad and his business partner Shahid Uncle back, like there was no requirement really beyond the point for me to be hanging around, and it was something I could have done. I chose to do for myself, go back and finish my studies and then come back, and I think that was one of the it was a difficult decision, but I think it was one of the better decisions that I've made in my life so far.
It helps in getting some clarity to the point that it is an important thing that a student or a young should do and get done with it, and then into the business.
Absolutely. Look, there's no question about it. I learned so many things in university, none of which are applicable to my business today, right? But I wouldn't change a moment of it. I wouldn't change that experience, the friendships that I have. I met my wife in LSE. We were both in LSE together, and we started dating in that third year. Had I not gone back for that third year, I wouldn't. Probably I wouldn't be married to my wife today. So
It gave you a lot.
yeah, there's certain things, certain decisions that you make have very profound implications later on in life. And like I said, I don't apply anything that I learned in university to my work today. But the one thing I am able to do, and what university taught me, is to be just super self motivated and to be, willing to really work hard, because the way the British system is, you didn't really have to go to college for the entire year, but for the 3 months of exams and leading up to exams, it was, start your day at 7 o'clock in the morning, end it at midnight, and you're just studying nonstop, and that kind of rigor and that kind of intensity is what I learned in college. And that is something that those years have enabled me to be able to work that hard and to take on that extra work and push myself, and of course expand my mind as well. Reading philosophy and economics, neither of them particularly easy, but to grasp those complex topics was something that enhanced my mind and taught me ways to learn, which stand me in good stead today.
Understood. The reason of asking this, that I am in somewhere this mid opportunity, that should I just continue in the business or should I pursue my master's? And it is like a difficult thing to figure out right now. But I did get some thought process thinking, which you did apply and helped you with that. So did get a bit of it and got your point.
Listen, if I could leave and do a master's degree today, I would. Right?
Okay.
I would, because my happiest and most rewarding years were the years that I was studying. And honestly, when you are sort of doing the same thing for a number of years, right? The academics take sabbaticals, high-powered executives take sabbaticals, and they're always learning, right? Why? Because when you're doing the same thing for a number of years, you sort of, become very, very, very laser focused on that task. And one of the jobs, or one of the things that you can get from an academic career, from some more study, right, is just a broadening of your mind, right? Just seeing the world through a different lens, rather than the lens from our perspective of, say, real estate, and that is just, it's very important, I think. Hopefully one day I'll get back into college and work a little and study a little bit more. But yeah, so far for the moment, attention is here.
Great. Now coming to the main thing of real estate, coming to the topics of real estate. So wanted to start with Dynamix Group. So talking about the current state right now, all your projects are majorly having a sale number of units, minimum like 150, 200 or more than that. And most of your projects are high-rise buildings. So do you have any criteria of choosing your projects the way?
So look, I mean, hey, as far as I'm concerned, my grandfather and my father, in their time were very, very, very good at identifying upcoming locations, and they acquired land in those locations. I'm blessed that some of that land is with us till today, and I'm continuing to develop that. So you won't really see us go out into the market and bid for land and participate in auctions and all the rest of it, right? We have enough of our own, and we keep working on that. Of course, there are issues with respect to it, because the land was acquired many years ago, and with the passage of time, things happen. And I spend a lot of my energy trying to get those issues resolved, get the regulatory framework in place or get the project approved within the existing regulatory framework, and then try to launch it. And that's a ongoing task that takes a little bit of time and effort on a continuous basis. In terms of what we are looking for, what kind of work we would like to pursue, we have been historically Western suburbs based developers, and we would like to continue to be that way. Western suburbs of Mumbai. It's a vast market, it's a deep market, and it's a strong market. And local scale in this market, we believe, will bring us high profitability. It also helps that our land is situated in this market. And we want to be suburban north really of Andheri. Not really developers who want to venture into Bandra or South Mumbai. Not that we are averse to it. We're happy to do it, but it's not our core market. Our market is Andheri and north of it, which
I feel in the coming times, these areas will be much more developed and the scope of development
Correct.
is much more compared to the South
Absolutely.
Bombays and
Yeah.
other areas.
So it's South Bombay is a story of urban renewal, right?
Yes.
And it's remarkable to see the things that have happened to South Bombay just in the past, 3, 4, 5 years even, But talking of our core markets, we believe that there is a shortage of housing stock in this segment of Mumbai. We also believe that these markets have a lot of depth. If you're building the right product, you're building it on time, and you're pricing it fairly, it should sell, and it should continue to sell. And that's why, we are very focused on this. We don't really want to diverge from this unless a very compelling opportunity that is highly profitable and then also highly strategic presents itself.
You spoke about Western suburbs. You have a project in Eastern suburbs in Thane, right?
We have one in Thane.
So what is your opinion on that market?
Thane is a fantastic market. It's a tough market, but it's a good one in that you would see a lot of supply that's always coming on, but you also see that supply consistently sold. It's a market where customers are price conscious, rightly so. They are also brand conscious, very rightly so. And they have their pick of the litter. You have the biggest brands of Mumbai and of India who all operate in Thane. So if you can be a successful developer in Thane and actually make some money in doing your projects over there, build them well, it's a market that will be very rewarding to you in that you can continue to build, you continue to sell, and you will learn a lot from that market that you can apply to the western suburbs of Bombay. Thane is a market that, will build discipline for selling, construction that, people can really learn from in Mumbai.
Any differences in the kind of working, in terms of construction and sales specifically, that you see between the western suburbs and eastern suburbs?
I don't know much about the eastern suburbs of Mumbai, so I would refrain from saying anything about those. But as far as Thane is concerned, like I said, the build is going to be the same, right? More or less, right? Minor, few sort of site-specific challenges, project-specific challenges, finishes with respect to market segmentation. These are going to be the only real inherent differences. But other than that, in terms of sales, Thane requires a higher intensity in terms of selling. We need to really, work a lot harder to generate the sale because we're competing more fiercely, with established names.
Your first project in Thane?
That was my first project in
So
Thane.
might need a lot of more marketing and pushing.
Yes, a good push, more than just, blunt marketing. It's like intelligent marketing, good distribution, working with a lot of these, aggregators to actually go out into the market, speak to the channel partners who are fundamentally important to our business, satisfy them, and go out and ask them to sell our flats for us. And of course, demonstrate to the market that we are credible developers here to stay. We'll build them a good product on time. These are, if we're able to do these things and work with good intentions, I think, the rest should take care of itself.
Understood. So, shifting a little bit. So, there are like 8 to 10 departments in a real estate company, from sales, approvals, finance, accounts, acquisition, marketing. So, what departments do you think are important from the management's perspective that they need to get involved or be involved with them on much more basis compared to the other departments? Maybe sometimes sales, if you can delegate it to your team or hire a mandate company for a project and can be delegated to a good extent once you have your numbers fixed. But maybe like approvals, many people have an opinion that you should be involved much more compared to a sales department. So you have any uh, opinion on being involved or being involved in particular departments more?
So clearly, there are some departments that will take up more management bandwidth than others, right? So that's a truism. As far as I'm concerned, I would refrain from speaking for the making a statement which I think is universally applicable. But the way where I spend a lot of my time is on the approval side of things, because that's a very dynamic environment. One needs to always be on top of what's happening with respect to the approvals, because you just don't know how it'll impact your project and what value it'll unlock and what value it'll also lock. It's a double-edged sword. It can create, great unlocking of potential for some projects, but at the same time actually create major issues for another. So I have to be constantly on top of that and have a deep understanding of the regulations. So that is one thing that I try to spend a lot of my time on, and this is something I've learned from my father and from Mr. Shahid Balwa, who's my dad's business partner, who's our family business partner for many years. One of the sharpest minds in the sector. So I've learned this from them in a fair amount of detail. And the other aspect that I think the management of a company should look into is actually the legal aspect quite a bit, because things are changing in our country. It's justice is dispensed with quickly, much quicker than it was at a point in time, and knowing where you stand with respect to some of your title related questions. Any plot of land in Mumbai, by and large, will have some kind of title related issue that needs to be resolved. So knowing how to deal with that is very important. RERA casts now significant liabilities on the developer, right? Knowing what those are, knowing the constantly evolving nature of that law will enable us, or enables me as a developer to know what I need to focus on, right? What are my non-negotiables, which are genuinely things that are going to carry liabilities on the company and therefore hurt our ability to operate, hurt our ability to actually deliver quality products to our customers. Courts are dispensing with justice very quickly. The law changes all the time, through our common law framework in India. So knowing what has happened, how statutes have been interpreted, etc. These are very important things that I try to stay a little bit on top of. So that's a place that I spend a fair amount of my time. And of course, importantly, I try to read as many contracts as I possibly can, especially with respect to financing, because a lot of times the devil lies in the detail, and you end up seeing things over there which are scary if you don't know what you're. So I'd rather know what I'm signing up to, right, than
Right.
blindly sign it and have it, God forbid, come and blindside us in the future. So it's a lot of risk mitigation as well that you end up doing.
So as you spoke that the law continuously changes, and also talking about our real estate industry specifically for Mumbai, the way the new notifications or NOCs or new requirements for a project to keep going on or to get approval keep changing on a very high
frequency. Yeah.
Yes. So what my question to you is that I know that you keep up yourself with a very good way in terms of the regulations. So how do you keep yourself updated with the regulations that come in, and how do you also keep yourself very much aware of the regulation, existing rule as well?
So it is very straightforward, and I don't think I'm particularly good at it, right? I just try to read as broadly as I can. There are some people, some of my peers who just, their knowledge is orders of magnitude greater than what I am. I mean, my Shahid uncle, for example, is just encyclopedic, in terms of his knowledge of the regulations. But insofar as I'm concerned, what I do and the easiest sort of repository of information is WhatsApp in today's world. So I'm fortunate enough to be part of a few industry associations. I'm on those groups, and any new notification that comes, someone from somewhere is impacted by it, and is tracking it, and will immediately post it on that forum. And it just comes like it's instantaneous. It's literally hot off the press, and it's on our WhatsApp group. And the entire industry knows about it. It's very transparent. You don't have to go to the authorities to actually search and then be sort of shocked by it. So I open it up, I read it, I try to understand how it applies to us, and I'll also try to cross-reference it back to the existing DC regulations and our projects, and go from there. If I find any inconsistency, I'll try to get to the bottom of that, try to understand what impact it'll have. So that's one way. The other way is honestly just through just experience of working on projects, going to the BMC, going to the SRA, going to MHADA. I don't go to MHADA because we don't have much work there, but that's another
Area.
authority that a lot of people work with. Just talking to the officers, talking to the architects, talking to your peers that you meet in the hallway. It teaches you a lot. Like it's sort of management by walking around. You sort of just chit-chatting with with your municipal architect, and he says, oh no, this law applies in this way, and then I've had a number of debates with our municipal architects where they will say, the interpretation of this law at the corporation level is this, and I'll say, but I read it like that, so let's try to find some kind of middle ground, or if not, then represent. And so it's that kind of sort of learning by doing as well. The other way to do it is, if you're interested in a project, at any project in the city, right, and something that just you want to learn more about, get the file out of BMC, file an RTI application, get the file out of BMC, right? Most times you should be able to, and read the BMC's internal report, right? That looks at the plans, looks at the regulations, and says how the plan is in conformity with the regulation, or if it is not, how it is not, and what concessions are required. And it really talks you through the entire development process that has happened with respect to regulations on that project. Read through that and try to cross-reference it back to the DC regulations, and it's an incredible repository of information. So that's the other thing that I don't do personally, because we're fortunate enough to have active files, but one can do. And the last thing is, of course, for me personally, I'm very, very, very fortunate to have two mentors who know pretty much most things with respect to this sector, so I can just ask.
During those times, during the COVID times, the certain things in the industry caused to, or were happened to the industry, and since you guys were able to prove to the government that it was affecting the real estate industry, did Dynamix Group go through a difficult time that time, or it was not that of a difficult time?
No, we all went through a difficult time. Honestly, it was not a pleasant time for anybody, because at the end of the day, work on site it can't happen, right? Customers are circumspect. They're not buying. I mean, when you have uncertainty, the first thing that you stop doing is spending a lot of money, right? And the single largest purchase that anyone will make in their life, for most people, is their home, right? And that's the one thing you're going to put off from purchasing when you don't have clarity on what's going to happen to your next salary bill. A lot of companies, it was known, were reducing salaries and all of that. So there was deep uncertainty for the customers, and at the same time, there was deep uncertainty for the developers as well. We were not able to work on site. There was a crisis with respect to a mass exodus of a lot of migrant labor that worked on construction sites. There was a huge host of uncertainty with respect to what the banks would do and how they would behave during this sort of period, because it was a question of interpreting loan covenants at the time. It was not a straightforward issue that we were all dealing with, and it was, we all suffered. I think if anyone says to you that they didn't, I would like to learn something from them, because it's not I don't think there was anyone who didn't suffer at some level, professionally and also personally, during that very tragic time.
How do you see the shift from that times to the day today where we are?
I mean, it's just been yeah, it's been a lesson in belief, I think, because there were such dark days at COVID. During COVID times, we had to, like, everything as business people. It was, it's just, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. It was a very worrying time, and if you held on to belief, which were belief that everything will be okay and good times will return. Um, that belief has actually manifested itself, and we see that today, where the sector was struggling with huge amounts of inventory. At least, as I speak for Mumbai, I don't know too much about the rest of the country, so I would not try to offer an opinion about that. Huge amount of inventory issues with respect to financing across projects because of various different crises that the banks and NBFCs and financial institutions also faced along the way. Um, you know, Serious change on the regulatory side of things with RERA, GST, new DC regulations also in Mumbai, development control regulations in Mumbai. So it was just this constant state of flux that we were all dealing with, which post-COVID has actually settled down to become, like the level of flux has reduced substantially. And that has enabled the industry to find a balance, find sort of relatively smooth waters, and has that confidence has percolated down to the customer as well, who through all of these measures, premium reduction, stamp duty waivers, huge amount of wealth creation at an economic level. India has been great growth story of the past decade, under some extremely able leadership. So the wealth creation has been enormous. What we struggled with as a sector was confidence, and that confidence has come back, and the confidence has come back with the customer. When the customer is confident, he will buy. When he buys, the developer becomes confident. And then when the government provides stability of regulation, which our state has done, which our state in terms of the country of India has done, it's been, an unleashing of those animal spirits, which I think were very, very, very subdued before the pandemic, and it's been a sea change. Honestly, I could scarcely believe that we would be doing what we're doing currently as an industry. And if you told me in sort of March or April 2020 that 4 or 5 years from now things will be what they are today, I would have laughed you off as someone who's overly optimistic and probably doesn't know what he's talking about. So it's quite remarkable to see the things that have happened.
Fingers crossed to where, it'll continue as far as the emotions of everyone are saying. Coming to Speedy Construction,
Yeah.
and I know that you are a true believer of speedy construction and building fast. And also, the book that you're reading speaks something about it. So, firstly, I want to understand your thinking behind speedy construction.
I mean, I think it's just fundamentally important to the success of any project, right? Building faster will enable the developer, of course, within acceptable norms of safety and quality. That's the main caveat, of course. Will enable the developer to realize his project's potential quicker in terms of revenues and profits. It reduces the cost of time on the project, right, in terms of interest and time value of money. As a building goes up at very fast speeds, Mumbai, which was a city that had a chronic crisis of confidence with respect to real estate projects, a lot of them being delivered late and stuck, it instills a great deal of confidence in our customer base, and that manifests itself in two ways. One is you see a very, very, very fast increase in the price of the product that you're selling, because the discount that one has for uncertainty of under construction projects starts going away, right? Any locality in Mumbai, the price difference between a ready possession building and an early stage building is 20, 30, 40%. So that discount starts actually evaporating as the building goes up, and the quicker you put it up, the quicker that discount goes away, right? So that's one. And the second thing is, the customer is satisfied because at the end of the day, he wants to have his house as soon as possible. And when you hand over those homes to the customer, that customer, hopefully, if you've done a good job with the construction, will be your customer for your next project and the one thereafter and the one thereafter. And it's just building that very deeply loyal customer base through performance and customer satisfaction, which I think is very, very, very sticky. No matter no amount of hoardings, no amount of distribution is going to replace that. So I think speedy construction is truly important from a customer perspective, from a financing perspective, right? Because you're building the building faster, and reducing the cost of interest, saving on time value of money, and also from a pure risk mitigation standpoint as well. If you think about any development project as having, a bunch of risks, right, that are associated with it. Now, these can be internal risks, they can be external risks as well, right? External risks are typically in our sector, regulatory, right? Regulatory environment, social, noise. These are the kind of issues that create risks for real estate projects, right? If you think of a project as having a window of risk, right? And the risk being that proverbial black swan, that'll come crashing through that window. The quicker you actually build the building,
You're safer.
right, the quicker you're shutting that window, right? It's as simple as that. So the quicker it comes up, the lesser the chances of some, black swan event coming and making a mess of your project, Given the passage of time, right, given enough time, a monkey with a typewriter could write any book in the world, right? Because of just sheer probability. So anything that really can happen will happen given enough time. So you have to reduce the quantum of time that you're leaving yourself exposed to those kinds of issues, which is why speedy construction, to my mind, is the key to success in real estate in Mumbai.
Each one more day that you're taking to build that thing is one more day exposing yourself to another problem,
another uncertainty.
One more thing I would like to add is that real estate, if the project is not at a huge scale, let's say of 500 or 1,000 flats, then it has a very good local consumption. If it's a small building or having a limited amount of volume, then the construction is the marketing of the building. Then you don't need to use that outdoor media or any other kind of marketing. That's a belief that I have also in terms of speedy construction. So moving to the Empire State Building, and
the greatest case study.
I'm happy that you introduced me and told me about this thing which happened 100 years before.
Just about 100 years.
Just about
1930.
1930. So I would like you to tell that story.
I mean, it's well documented, very well known. The building was announced, I think, on the 17th of March, 1930. This was in the middle of the Great Depression in the US. The Great Depression started, I think, in August 29, right? So we're talking about almost 100 years ago. They announced this building, which was 102-story, tallest building in the world at the time. Very, very, very ambitious project, right? 400 odd meters in terms of height. That would be, probably the tallest building in Mumbai today, just to give you a perspective. I think the tallest building that we have is today around 300 odd meters, right? That building, from the commencement of construction to completion and occupation, took 13 months. 13 months they took to build 102 stories 100 years ago. They built almost a floor a day. There was a period where in 10 days they put up 14 floors, right? We are not able to today, 100 years later, build a floor a week. It's it's I, I there's no good reason for it. If they were able to do it then, why can't we do it now? Of course, there are like details, like that was a steel frame building, and they had very, very efficient construction crews. They had all kinds of assistance from the state, so to allow for working hours and building in situ and things like that. So we do face those challenges, but it's something to really truly think about, that 100 years ago they were able to put up this building, which is standing, is a standing beacon even today, at a speed that is unfathomable for a lot of us today. It's absolutely remarkable, and it was a building that was built below budget, which we're not able to do today, a lot of our projects. It was a building that was built, of course, at remarkable speed, and it was a building that, whilst very successful from the construction standpoint, unfortunately was still a building that took 20 years to pay itself back because it was in the throes of the Great Depression. But we don't, we don't remember that, right? We remember that this is a building that was just remarkable and a case study for every single real estate developer to try to emulate. They planned it to perfection, and they spent a lot of time on the drawing board, and they didn't try to reinvent the wheel. They did things that were done before, but they just did it at a different scale. And I think that was the true success of this building. And for every Empire State Building, there's tens of others that were just colossal failures. And I think that is one that we should, as real estate developers, truly look up to, not because I think it's one of the best looking buildings in the world, but because of the story behind it. It's truly quite remarkable.
It is something that everyone should look up to and should get inspired. It puts in like something like that is possible, gives us again a belief that something that happened 100 years ago can be possible maybe tomorrow or maybe sometime
If
later.
it was possible then, it should be possible today, right?
Let's hope to build something like that. Coming to your personal life a little bit, I know that you are disciplined, and I did talk to you, a few people before you were here, so I know that you are disciplined and you have certain ethical values. If you can speak about the discipline a person should carry to maybe move forward in life.
I mean, I don't know. Whoever told you this, I should probably speak to my wife. But no, yeah. Look, I try to live a life that's, I don't know about discipline, but about that's structured. And it enables me to do a lot more than I would like. Do a lot more with my day. Than the days that I'm living an unstructured life. It's really truly as simple as that, and the one thing you're not getting back is time, right? So you have to maximize as much of it as possible. And I found that being a bit stingy with my time, being very clear about what I would like to allocate it to, and prioritizing it, my well-being along with what I think is important for my work, as something that will stand me in good stead in the future. And I've also seen a lot of people I look up to living a very, very, very structured and very disciplined life, and it's been good for them. So it's just that. I mean, whether it's, the jury's out still. We'll see what impact it has. But it enables me to, look back at my day at the end of the day and ask myself as to whether I actually did something meaningful with it and what I was able to achieve. And based on that, plan out my next day as well. And this is on the personal and the professional front. So yeah, that's typically how I try to live my life. In terms of ethical considerations, I mean, honestly, with any business, and speaking of real estate as well, or with any work or in life in general, just be honest and be sincere. I don't really think there's anything more. Yeah, the easier way out is to someone's upset with you, which, we all face in our life. Be it a customer, be it a family member, the easiest thing to do is to brush it off, is to, give them some kind of sweet nothing that'll just calm them down for the moment. And, internally, you don't you won't be able to perform on that. You don't have the intention to go through with it, right? I think that is, um, it's the worst possible way to be, because you're being untrue to yourself, and you're being untrue to the people who have put faith in you and who care about you. So have that more difficult conversation if it has to be had, and say it the way that it is. And be humble about the fact that, you can also make mistakes. You do also make loads of mistakes. And every opportunity, every interaction is one that gives you the opportunity to learn and to grow. And just be honest about, your shortcomings. Be honest about what you intend to do with your work and intend to do with your personal life, and chase that down, work hard at it, and work with a deep amount of integrity. I think if we're able to do these things, I think we'll be living a good life and doing good work.
So it comes down to having a structured day and making as much as more out of it than an unstructured day would allow you to. Coming to ethical principles, that difficult conversation might be very difficult, but it will be that for a small period of time, which will be fruitful for a long period of time. Coming to, do you believe in work-life balance?
Oh yeah, of course. I wasn't when I first started, but I am very much now. I go on holiday often. A lot of people call me and say, "Where are you? Are you here? Or are you in town?" That's because, are you here or are you out of town? Sorry. So that's the opening statement with me a lot of times, which I find quite amusing. So I'm on holiday a fair amount. I do. I'm an avid believer in having a balanced work and personal life, because having a balanced personal life is going to help me be better in my work. That's the belief that I sort of carry.
How do you manage to do that? Like, let's say, like, whatever I have witnessed or I have seen, it is particularly talking about the real estate industry. When you have a growing business, you are quite much involved into that work, and sometimes it becomes difficult to bring that time out of it. And I feel it depends on the person how to manage that. You have anything to say on that?
I'm still pretty bad at it, to be honest. I'm still not very good at managing that work and life balance, because you take problems from the office home with you. You don't necessarily take the problem home in the physical form, but you take it in your mind, and you're just always thinking about it. And I've had enough sleepless nights where, I've not been able to really, let go of the issue until I've found some kind of resolution, or it's just, eaten at me nonstop. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So a few things that sort of I try to do in those kinds of circumstances is always ask yourself the question, not what if A happens, right? What if B happens? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? It's not about that. Okay, yeah, examine that and understand what you potentially face. But it's about what now. What can I do at this point in time to, change the outcome or to address this problem, right? Ask yourself that question, and a lot of the anxiety, a lot of the worry that we take home, right, fades away, right? Because you're focusing your attention on action. So that's one thing. The other thing is, look, I have a few sort of things that I do to try to create a balance in my life. I don't look at my phone for the first 60 minutes in the morning. So I'll wake up and I'll spend the first 60 minutes reading, because it's quiet time. Nobody's really messaging me at that time of the morning. Nobody really needs me at that time of the morning. So I'll have my morning cup of coffee and I'll read my book, and then I'll read the newspapers, and that's really me time, where I'm able to broaden my mind. I'm able to learn about what's happening in the world. All very important for personal growth and also for professional growth. Then I'll go down to the gym. I'll try to exercise. I love running, so it's a form of just like meditation for me to do nice long runs. So I'll do that, and then I'll start looking at my phone and getting engaged with the day. I also don't have social media. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook. I was used to have LinkedIn, but I deleted that as well because it was just they're designed to capture your attention, right? And I would delete WhatsApp, but then my entire family and industry, my business, everyone would come and start shouting at me. I would do that too, because fundamentally, I'm still available. Businesses ran without WhatsApp, but yeah, we now today it becomes a little bit more difficult. I do these things. I also try to plan out my day, blocks of time in terms of what I will do at what time. And I also make it a point to try to leave the office at office closing time. And I will have an hour in the car on the way home where I'll just catch up with, stuff, return calls that I need to. And then go home and literally just switch off. The other thing that, my wife and I, we've been able to do is we've tried to make our home a place that we want to go back to. A lot of people find escape from their personal circumstances in the office. And the thought of going back home for a lot of people, unfortunately, is one that fills them with dread. They have to deal with something, or they don't like whatever. There's any amount of reason that they don't want to go back into their home environment. And we've been fortunate enough to create an environment that's, calming for us in the din of Mumbai real estate and in the din of our work. We find our home to be a little bit of an oasis, and that allows me to create some amount of balance.
That's nice to hear, and does give a sense of belonging and loving your day and night and every day you live. So moving forward, coming back to Dynamix Group again, what is your future vision? Where do you see the company going, and where do you want to take it?
Look, we just want to keep doing what we have been doing, but just do it on a larger scale. We have the land to support our growth ambitions, so we just keep working on that. Mumbai is a city. The MMR is home to over 20 million people. 50% of those, by some estimation, live in slum accommodation, slum homes, improper accommodation. There's a great opportunity and a great, I think, imperative and a great duty cast on us to rehabilitate, those places, give people, simple necessities like running water and proper sanitation. These are things which I think our city deserves, our polity deserves, and as real estate developers, we can do a little bit in doing that, and also, of course, make some money and do some business along the way as well. A lot of our land and a lot of our work focuses on slum rehabilitation. So I see that, that's something we'll do over the next 5 to 7 years in a more meaningful way. We're not going to overstretch ourselves. We're not going to, you won't see us building the tallest building in the country. You won't see us, taking on mega projects, because mega projects are mega headaches.
These kind of projects are like a suicide kind of projects if you are...
Yeah, some people are able to do it, right? And those are remarkable people. For us, we would rather have the same amount of square footage in the form of many smaller projects rather than one deeply concentrated project. And that's the effort that, we will continue progressing in. You'll see a lot more of our buildings, but smaller ones is the hope that, we will work with. And just keep doing that and, hopefully make a difference to this city that we all deeply love so much, and in the process, do some service to our nation as well.
I want to again touch base on this thing. Just to want to know, actually, but let's say there is a big, huge opportunity for you. You have the land, or you also acquire the adjacent land, and you have the area. You can get the permission sorted and maybe build the tallest tower tomorrow in Mumbai. Will you take it?
No. If you look at any successful super tall, right, other than the Empire State Building, which also was empty for 20 years, it also earned the moniker in 2000 in whatever 19 in the 1930s 40s as the empty state building. So the biggest and most ambitious projects are projects done with, like tallest building, for example, are projects that are done by the state, because they are highly complex, require a lot of patience, require a lot of special regulatory sort of stuff, and a lot of times are designed to put the city or the country on the map. Take, back in the 1800s and 1900s, they were train stations. The greatest buildings of the time were train stations. Before that, it was churches and cathedrals. These were all done by the state. You would not really, to a great extent, see private individuals participating. Today, it's airports and mega projects. Like take the largest building in the world. I think it is the Surat Diamond Bourse. Yeah, these are all projects that are championed by the state and not by private persons. And I think that's how it needs to be, because when private persons take on mega projects, a lot of times they're done for the wrong reasons. They're done for, sometimes vanity, sometimes over ambition, and they end up being unsuccessful. The Burj in Dubai was, of course, done by a private company, but the Burj as a building in and of itself wasn't a hugely successful building. But what it created in terms of the locality and the value of the real estate around it is where Emaar made a lot of money.
They do also have a certain interference with the government
Yeah,
to a very
they do.
good
I'm
extent.
sure they'll have support. I don't know how they're structured, but I suspect that there would be some kind of support. So yeah, I think the better thing to do is for private persons to concentrate on building quality, successful projects that are done quickly. Also remember this: the tall buildings take long, and that window remains open for longer. So you'd rather shut it down as quickly.
It's very impressive how clarity you have on this thing.
Yeah,
No, it is actually good. Like if till date today, I was like, yeah, I want to make remarkable buildings that would people talk about, but this thing as well where it could go
It
other
could be
way
your
around.
last project.
It
The
could be the
problem is
last
that,
last project as
that
well,
is
right?
that is the issue with these super talls, and they're also exponentially more expensive.
Yes, yes.
If you have the way, there's no real proper reason in the city of Mumbai to do it, because we have our FSI is restricted to 4 or 5 depending on the regulation, right, plus something, right? So there's really, like, you're not sitting in a city like, for example, Chicago, where a lot will have either unlimited FSI or 50 FSI or something, where you're just required to build very tall, right? In Mumbai, FSI is a function of the size of land. If the land is big, the FSI is big. And if the land is big, you don't need to go really tall to fill up the FSI.
And also every height milestone, the problem increases.
Yeah, intermediate pumps, intermediate electricity supply. It's really complicated, to build these super tall buildings, and they end up being beautiful to look at. They're icons, but nobody ever remembers the developer or his balance sheet. People remember the architect. They'll talk of the contractor. And the developer a lot of times will be, licking his wounds and will say, I'll never build another one of these again.
Fair enough. Whatever you said, I really get your point and understanding to feel the thing that you're saying. Coming to end of the podcast would like you to give an advice to any younger youth, whoever starting off their career, be it real estate or not real estate.
I mean, I'm humbled that you would ask me for advice because I still think I'm in need of a lot of advice myself.
You are young, but what you have done is remarkable.
No, you're very generous with your words. But the only piece of advice I would really give anybody, to be honest, is just be curious. Like, read widely. You read everything that you can get your hands on, even if it's not directly linked to your subject matter. And ask questions. Don't be afraid to, like, look like the fool. It doesn't matter, You'd rather be foolish and ask the question than be ignorant for your entire life, by not asking it. What's the worst that can happen? Somebody will think, oh, this guy's an idiot. Okay, cool, it's fine. But at least you're an idiot with a little bit more knowledge than you had before. And yeah, just read widely, work hard. There's no substitute for that. But also try to work a bit smart, Don't be over smart. Everybody can see through it, Don't think that the person, your counterparty, can't see through what you're trying to say to them. Be humble, be honest, and above all, be curious, and that should hopefully stand you in good stead.
Thanks for that.
Thank you.
So it was a great session, and I am taking back learnings and certain values.
Thank you. It was great for me too.
You have incorporated, and it's a pleasure to have this time with you, and looking forward to spending more time with you in future.
Likewise, and wishing you all the best. And I hope I've added some value to your endeavor, which I think is absolutely amazing. So well done to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.